Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I hope you guys are doing well. So in today's session we are going to implement or you can say design on IRCTC app. So हम स्टार्ट करेंगे PNR स्टेटस चेक करने की फीचर से, ठीक है। तो यहाँ पे तीन चीज़ों का ध्यान रखना है, ठीक है। पहले तो हम रैपिड API को एक्सप्लोर करेंगे, उसके बाद हम क्या करेंगे, उससे जो रिस्पॉन्स मिलता है हमें उससे एक API डिज़ाइन करेंगे, ठीक है, और उसको कंज्यूम करके हम UI डिज़ाइन करेंगे, ठीक है। So on safer side, what we are going to do is we are going to build one mock. तो वहाँ पे क्या होगा कि we'll be providing one PNR number to that API and it is going to generate the same response every time, okay? So इससे क्या होगा कि आप UI डिज़ाइन करके टेस्ट कर सकते हो as many times as you want, ठीक है। यहाँ पे कोई restriction नहीं है। और जब आपका फॉर्म रेडी हो जाए, it works effectively, then हम क्या करेंगे कि we'll replace the API endpoint with the original one, where we can get the original PNR status, okay? तो इसमें we are going to use React.js. Okay, so we are going with class component. It can be made with function component as well. And on the backend side, we are going to use Web API, which will be written in C# language. And if you guys are liking this kind of content, okay, so please do not hesitate to subscribe the channel and share the content with your. So first thing first, let's discuss what is Rapid API. Okay, so here you can create your own account. So आप देख सकते हो मैंने यहाँ पे login कराया अपना, ठीक है। So it has inbuilt API of so many category from data, sports, finance, travel. Okay, so there are so many categories, but what we care for our project is basically IRCTC API. Okay, so once I type IRCTC API, I can get the API of my desired choice. Okay. So if you see, we do have endpoints. Okay, so what we need for our first project is this one, get PNR status v3. Okay, so if you see, it is asking me to subscribe to test. So once I click here, it is going to give me these many subscription based on the price. So for this project, I do not want any paid subscription. Okay, so what I can do is I can subscribe this and I can get 20 hits for this API per month. Okay, so this is enough for me. Okay, so let's subscribe it. So if you see, these are the two things which we need. One is the rapid API key and this is the host, okay? And then these are the required parameters. So we are going to supply only PNR number. So this is our required parameter, okay? And if you see example response, okay? So this is how it is going to generate the response. So you will be having 4 keys, status, message, timestamp, and data. So inside the data, you will be getting PNR number, train, and all those. And inside that, you will be having passenger status. So again, this is an array because one PNR can have multiple passenger, okay? So on safer side, what I have done is I have created one mock API with this example response, okay? So that I do not have to hit the actual API and we'll be running out of the quota. So we just have 20 hits for the API. So I have created one API endpoints, get PNR details. So here I'm going to supply one PNR number. So since this is a sample response, okay? So what I have done is if you go to the database project and the model, so I have created one file, JSON file, and I have put the sample response here, okay? So with the help of this API, I'm going to call this JSON, okay? And if the PNR number does not match with this, which will happen ideally in the real world, in that case, I'm going to return this error, okay? So first thing I will show you is by testing this API, okay? So let's run this API. So this is the API which I'm going to consume inside our React.js project, okay? So after this, we are going to build React.js page where we'll be consuming the API. Okay guys, so if you see, this is our get PNR details API, okay? So if I try it out and provide the PNR number, it is going to return me the JSON response, okay? So this is what we need in the React.js, okay? So this is our response. Okay, let's say you are providing the wrong PNR number, okay? So this is not the valid PNR number. So if you execute it, it's going to return you some error, right? Okay, so let's start with React.js code. तो मैंने parallelly दोनों विंडो खोल दिए हैं. लेफ्ट साइड जिसमें मैं कोड लिखूंगा और राइट साइड जिसमें आप UI को देख सकते हो, ठीक है? अभी मैंने पेज रेंडर नहीं किया है. I have not even started the npm. So let me do one thing. So I'm going to do it from a scratch. Okay, so let's create one component. Okay, so a folder name I can give it as IRCTC. Okay, and inside this IRCTC, okay, so this is the folder I have created. So I'm going to create two files. So the first file will be the JS file. So I can name it as PNR component dot JS. Okay, and then one more thing I'm going to create, that is CSS file. Okay, so I can create a new file called PNR style.css. Okay, so guys, let me just do one thing. Let me just create one basic structure of how our form will look like, and then I'm going to bind that with the data that is coming from this API. Okay, so let's do that. import React, okay, and then class PNR and extends React dot component. Then I can have constructor with props, okay. Then inside this we can have super props, okay. And then we have to initialize the state of some variable, okay. So we can write this dot state is equal to, okay. So the first thing we need is the PNR number that is going to be provided by the user who wants to see the status, okay. So we can write something like PNR number and we can initialize that with a empty, okay. And then we need this API response, okay. So if you see this particular response body is nothing but response.data. So we need this data. So inside this we'll be getting everything and then we'll be needing this one also, passenger status, because one PNR can have multiple passenger. So for every passenger we'll have a passenger status, okay. So that is an array of passenger status. So let me declare one variable called PNR details. So here I'm going to take this data. So this data part I'm going to store here in PNR details. And I'm going to initialize this with an empty array, okay. And then I need one more variable, can take this passenger status, okay. So this passenger status, we can use it. You can give any name. I'm going to give this name as passenger status, okay. So that's done for now. Let me create one render function, okay. Inside this, I'm going to return, let's return one main div that will say, put it inside h2 tag and say this is engineer's task railway website, okay. And then what we can do is we can write something like inside the h3 tag we can write here something like please enter your PNR number, okay. And then we have to export this component, so export default, and then we can use this PNR component, right. And then we have to import this PNR component inside this app.js file that we have created, okay. So there's the app.js file, so we can write something like import PNR component, okay. So it is going to import it from component / IRCTC / PNR component, right. And here we can call this PNR component, okay. So once I run this terminal with the help of npm start, okay, it's going to load this PNR component page. Let's see. So we are going to see this parallelly in the right side so that it will be good for you. Okay, so if you see, this is showing me this is engineers test railway website, please enter your PNR number, okay. So let's do something. So I already have created the basic CSS, okay, so that we should not waste a lot of time in CSS. So let's take it from there and copy it here, okay. So if you see, we have app and table, okay. So in app we have set the property like background color gray, width, minimum height, border radius, and all those things, okay. So I'm just going to copy this file and we have our component IRCTC, right. So inside this we have PNR style.css, so now I can paste it here, okay. Then what you have to do is you have to import this CSS file here inside your component. So we can write something like import, okay, dot slash PNR style.css, okay. You can save this, and then since we are using this class, right, app is a class, so what you have to do is you have to use this class name here, okay, so that it will apply all its property. So you can see it has applied the property of this CSS, right. Now let's design few more things here. So what I need is I need a text box with a button where user can enter the PNR number, okay. So let's do that. So I can create one div. Inside this div I will be having one input type is equal to text, ID is equal to PNR, right. name is equal to PNR. So let me just expand it a little bit so that it will be easy for you to visualize. Then in the value, what we can do is we can write this dot state dot PNR number. Okay, what we have decided here. Okay, what we have declared here. Okay, so this is the PNR number, right? Then you need to write one more thing that is called on change event. Okay, and here you need to make this one, this dot handle change. So I'm going to set the state of this PNR number inside this function. Okay, so let's close this. Okay, so you can see we have created this input, and now let's create one button also. Okay, so we can write button type is equal to submit. Okay, then you have then what we want, guys, then what we want is once you click on the search, right, it should display me the tables. Okay, so I need to obviously go with some function, so let's create one on click function. So on click is equal to this dot handle submit. Okay, so these are the function which we need to implement, right? And then we can give this name as search, so the button name will be search. Okay, now once we save it, you can see that here. Okay, so you can search here, right? So as of now, we are not able to enter the PNR number because we have not implemented this handle change function. Okay, so let's implement it first. Handle change is equal to, okay, we can pass one event here. Okay, and then here we can set the state of the PNR number. Okay, so what we can do here is we can take this PNR number and then event dot target dot value. Okay, so that's done. So let's format this. Okay, so now if we see, we should be able to enter something here. Okay, so that is good. Now we have to implement this handle submit function as well. So let's do that as well. So here inside this handle submit, what we are going to do is we are going to call the API and we are going to set the state of the PNR details and passenger status. Okay, so let's implement this handle submit. Okay, okay guys, so we are going to call this API using Axios. Okay, so before that, let's do one more thing. Let's design the table here. Okay, so this is done. So what we can do is we can design div. Okay, and we can design table here. Okay, so table class name is equal to table. I think this is the class name we have given. Yes, table. Okay, so let's go here and then, so inside this we will having something called thead. Inside thead we can have tr. Okay, and inside tr we can have th. So th is nothing but table header. Okay, so what are the details which you want to display? So let's display 5 details, at least 5 details for now. Okay, so 3, 4, 5. Okay, so let's go to the response file and see what are something that we can display. So first thing we are going to display is the common, something like it is common for all the passengers, because one PNR will have train details that is common. The seat details will not be common, so we are going to display that in a different table, that is passenger status table. So here what we are going to display is, let's display this thing. So PNR, train number, train name. Okay, these 3 details we want obviously. So let's just play PNR number. Okay, and then we can have train number. Okay, so these details, right, these response detail are going to be filled from the JSON response. Okay, so this is just for the header. So one more thing I can give it is source station and then destination station. Okay, one more thing we can give here is the date of journey, because that is also important. So let's write th and then date of journey. Okay, so I think that should be good enough. Okay, so after this t head, we'll be having something called t body. Okay, table body. So here what we can do is we can display the data. So as of now we do not have any data, right? So we can simply write tr. So this is the row, and then in the data part we do have nothing. Okay, so we'll be having td equal to th. Okay, so we'll do it later. Okay, so for now we can save it and see the UI. Okay, so it is showing everything: PNR number, train name, and all those things. Okay. Okay, so before we make the second table, okay, so let's minimize this. So this is our first table. Okay, so before we create a second table, let's call this API and try to populate this value. Okay, let's write const options, okay, is equal to. So here we need particularly 3 to 4 things. So first thing we need here is the method. So method is nothing but get. Okay, we are going to call the get. Then you will be having URL. So in URL, ideally it is the URL of entire API endpoint. But if you see, I already have package.json file. So I already have placed the URL in the proxy here to avoid any course issue. Okay. So what we can do here is the PNR component is we can just take this endpoint. Okay. So this is the endpoint. So we can take it from here. Okay. So this should be our endpoint. So this should be our API URL. Okay. And then next thing is the params. Okay, so what are the parameter we are going to provide? Okay, so in params we can okay, so I think comma is missing here. We need to check what is the parameter we are providing in the API. So it is PNR number, right? So we can copy this, and here we can supply PNR number is equal to this dot state dot PNR number. Okay, so this is fine. So we have these options. Now what we need to do is we need to call the Axios. Okay, so we can call it like Axios dot request, and then we can provide the options. So here we have everything, right? And then here what we can do is we can write then, and then we need to write response. Okay, and then you have to do this. Okay, so what you want to do here, you want to set the state of PNR details, right? So first we'll be setting the state of PNR details with all the data. So we can do something like this dot set state, and here we can write this PNR details. So this is nothing but response dot data. So as I already told you, right? So response dot data is nothing but this entire JSON. But what we need in the PNR detail is this data. So you need to write dot data again. Okay, we must have the data here in the PNR details. Okay, so what we can do here is we can populate the table data here. Okay, so let's do that. So in table body we have table data. So PNR number is nothing but if you see, this PNR number is nothing but we can take it from here. Okay, so this is PNR details. So in PNR details what we have basically is this data. So this is our data, and these are all details we can get in the PNR details. So let me do one thing. Let me write 6TD. Okay, so we need to fill the details for all these. Okay, so PNR number is nothing but this dot state dot, and this is our PNR details. Okay. So this dot state dot PNR details dot PNR. Okay. Okay, guys. So if you see here, we have PNR as this one, and then what we have trade number. So for trade number, we can take this trade number. Okay. So we can write this dot state dot PNR details dot this one. Okay. So in order to save some time, what we can do is at least we have. So we will replace the object. Okay. So by doing this, we can save some time. So trade number is fine. What is the trade name? So what is next? That is trade name. Okay, so we can take this one trade name and we can put it here. Okay, then we have source station. So source station name is nothing but boarding station name. Okay, so we can take this here. Okay, And then we have destination station, so that is nothing but the reservation up to name. Okay, so we can give this here. And then we have date of journey. So date of journey is this one, source date of journey. Okay, so we can give this here. Okay, so I think this is fine. So I think it should call the API now, and it should load the table. Okay, so let's do one thing. So what we can do is we can take the PNR number and we will try to call the API. Okay, so let's see. So once I click on the search, ideally this detail should be filled. Okay, so basically it's not loading the data. So let's see what is the issue we are getting. So what we can do is before setting up the state, let's log this console.log, and then we can log this response.data so that we can see whether it's able to call the API or not. Okay. So we can go to the inspect. So let's try to call the PNR API. I got it. So this function name, we have done one mesh here. Okay. So this is going to be on click. Okay. So probably it is not identifying that function. Let me search that PNR here. Okay. Okay, that's great. So if you see, we have loaded the PNR number and everything. Okay. So interesting thing here is the PNR is not loading. Okay, it's not loading because we have provided the P as a small. So let's provide P as caps. Okay. So now if you see it should load it. Okay. So I don't know whether we have, yeah. So if you see, it has loaded the PNR number, trade number, everything. Okay. So now our job is, so now our next job is to fill the other table with the ticket confirmation status for every passenger. Okay, so if you see this, we can have multiple passengers. So in this case it is passenger count 1, but we can have multiple passenger. Okay, so what we can do is we can populate this passenger status, we can set the state of this passenger status. Okay, and then we can use the map function to do it. Okay, so let's try to do that here. So we can set that as well. So we can have this, so we need this to be set, right? So we can write passenger status, the colon response dot data dot data. Goodness me, this should be a small response. Okay, and then dot, we need this passenger status. Okay, so we can write this here. So that's done. Now we can iterate through this passenger status and create a new table. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's copy this table from here to here because more or less it is going to be of same kind. Okay, yeah, but one thing we need here is a new div. Okay, and then we can write this table. So here what we want is we want this detail. So here in the table head what we need is the number. Okay, so or you can see the person number. Okay, and then we can use this coach. So we can write this second one as coach. Then we can go with the birth, and then what we can do, we can go with the status, right? So current status is this one, and booking status. So we can write booking status as well as the current status. So here we can write booking status, and then we can use the current status. Okay, we have set the value here in the passenger status, so we can write something like this dot state on state dot passenger status dot map. Okay, and then here we can write something like passenger comma index. Okay, because if you see This is having zeroth index. The first one will have zeroth index, and then we'll have 1, 2, 3, something like this. Okay, so you have to put it inside a curly braces and make sure you are ending it here. Okay, after tr. Okay, and then you can write this. So obviously this one is also needed after this. Okay, so here what you can write in tr is you need to provide the key. So key is going to be index. All these passenger details we can find it out from here. Okay, so let's use this response. So person number is nothing but the number. Okay, so we can write here passenger dot number, passenger dot number. We can use this. Okay, so that's fine. Let's do one thing. Let's write passenger dot number everywhere to save some time, and then we can. Okay guys, so now we have to replace this. So second is coach, so let's take this coach here. Then third is birth, so let's take this birth here. I don't know why I have written destination and station here. It should not be the case. Okay, so we don't need this. Basically we need booking status and current status. Okay, so the next thing is booking status. So booking status is this one, so we can write booking status, and then we have current status. So current status is this one, so let's write here current status. And this is something extra, right? So let's see if we can use some other details. So booking birth code is fine, current status is also fine. Okay, prediction percentage is something we can use. Okay, so prediction percentage we can use here, right? So let's use this th uh, percentage prediction. So here we can use this element passenger dot this one. Okay, so now it looks correct everything. So let's save it. Let's go to the React app. Let's try to call that API with the PNR number again. So we have this PNR number here, right? So we can use this PNR number here, and let's try to search. Okay, so if you see, it has given me all the details. Now let's try to modify it a little bit advanced. Okay, so if you see, let's see, I'm giving a wrong one. So I'm giving a wrong PNR. Let's see what does it says. Okay, so if you see, when I'm searching it, it is not resetting this. Okay, so in order to do this, what we have to do is we have to reset everything inside this handle submit. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's write this dot set state. Okay, and here I'm going to reset everything. Okay, what I mean, I'm going to reset obviously these two things here, PNR details and passenger status. So let's reset it. So PNR details will be this one. We are we are doing this to make sure when we hit the button. Okay, so before hitting the button, it should be empty. And then what we have, the other thing is passenger status. Okay, so let's make it as empty array as well. Now if you see, if you like do that, okay, so let's take that PNR again. So obviously we have done some progress here. Okay, so if you search this, obviously it is going to display you the data, but if you remove anything and search it, this data will be lost now. So see, this data is lost now, right? Now we also want this table to be hidden, right? When we search it, and if it has no details, then this thing should be hidden, right? So for that, what we can do is we can declare one boolean variable here. Okay, so let's declare is, so let's declare one boolean variable. नाम क्या ले सकते हैं उसका? uh, let's do something on table or on button clicked. Okay, so I'm making this as false. So this is going to be true only in the case, okay, this has to be comma. So this boolean variable is going to be reset when we are calling the API. Okay, so we can read, so we can reset this here to true. Okay, and then what we can write here is let's do one thing. So this on button click is true. Okay, so let's do one thing. So we have this. So where is the main div? We do not want these two tables to be displayed, right? So these two tables will be there inside a single div. So what we have to do is we have to create a div where we can have both the table. Okay, so now what you can do is you can place both this div inside this div. Okay, so let's do this. Let's format this. Okay, so my idea is, so this is the main div. Okay, so inside this we have both the tables. So what I want to do is I do not want to load this div until this boolean variable is set to true, and this is going to be true only we are going to hit this search button. Okay, so what we can do here is we can write something like this dot state dot on button click. Okay, and we can write and then we can close this here at the end of this div. Okay, so we can close it here. Okay, so that's fine. Now if you see that has gone, right? So we only want this table to be displayed only this button is clicked. So let's try to search that again. So let's do here and search it. So see, this is displayed. Now what if I'm doing it another search or something else? Okay, so if you see this this is showing me a still because this might have resulted into the error. Okay, so let's see this what happened when you enter the wrong PNR. Okay, so this PNR does not exist obviously. So when you try to enter this PNR in the API, okay, so let's try to enter it. Okay, so it is going to give me this error. Okay, so let's see this if it is giving in the here also. Let's try to open the inspect network, right? Hmm. Let me go and click on the search. So if you see, it is giving me the error. Okay, not found. The status code is 404. So okay, in order to handle it, I need to write one catch statement as well. Okay, after this. So here we can write dot catch. Okay, error, and then here what we want to do is we want to let's do one thing. Let's try to display one error. Okay, so what is the error and something that user can do. So for that let's do one thing. Let's declare one more variable called error message. So this is going to be empty initially. Okay, and then when we go inside this catch block, okay, so we are going to set this error message. Okay, so this dot set state, and then we can write where is the error message. So this is the error message. Okay, so we can write here error message, and we can give something like please enter the correct PNR. Okay, so this is the error message which is going to be displayed when someone enter the wrong one. Okay, so let's format this. So that's fine. Now what is the next thing is we need to display this error message. Okay, so and also we need to make sure that we have an error. Okay, so for that we can declare one more boolean variable. So something called is error occurred, and this has to be false initially. Okay, so so when we go inside this catch block, okay, so we are going to set this variable with true. Okay, and now let's see what we can do here. Okay, so we need to do really a smart thing here. Okay, so first thing is we do not need to display the table when error occurred. Okay, so what we can check here is we can do something like this. Okay, so let's see. So we can check if this dot state dot is error occurred. Okay, if this is the case, then in that case we are going to display error message only. Okay, so we can display this dot state dot error message. Okay, if this is not the case, then we can display other thing. Okay, only the other thing is we need to reset these variables as well. Okay, so error message and is error occurred. Okay, so we need to reset here as well. So we can write error message. Okay, and this has to be this one, and then is error occurred. So this has to be false again. So this is something that we are resetting it here. Okay, so it looks good as of now. Okay, so let's try to execute this for the correct one. So let's close this and see. Okay, so it is returning the result here. It's little bit this side, okay. And when we do wrong stuff, okay, it should display me the error. Okay, interesting. So we can do this. So we can display this inside some tag. Okay, so let's display this inside h5 tag, the status dot error message. Okay. So if I do something wrong, let's see. Okay, I think I missed it. Okay, let's do. Please enter the correct PNR. This is what it says, okay. But this is an error message, right? So obviously we want this to be in a good format or something that it shows that obviously it is an error, okay. So for that, what we can do is we can go to the CSS file. We can create one error class here, okay. So dot error, and then we can have something like error message you can write. Okay, so here you can set the color. So let's see what color we can see it here. So let's set anything and let's see if it looks good. Okay, and then after this we need the background color as red. Okay, so let's set the background color as something close to red. We can change it from here, right? Let's see. So we can use it. Okay, let's format this. Okay, and then we can use this error message class here inside this PNR component. Okay, so we have this. So we have this h5, right? So we can write class name as error message. Okay, now if you do something, it is going to display in that way. Okay, so this particular thing is not readable, so we can make it white. Okay, so we can make this as white. Okay, so it says please enter the correct PNR. Okay. Okay guys, so the time has come when we should replace this API with the real one. So when we call the IRCTC endpoint, okay, in the options, we need to include headers as well, okay. So I have the original URL as well as the headers. So let's try and get it out. So this is my URL, okay. So let's copy this. And let's paste it here, okay. So URL part is done. Now I need to include the header as well. So header will have the API key. So this is my headers, okay. So rest other thing will be same since we have tested with the response, okay. So now what I have done is I have booked one IRCTC ticket that is that was in the waiting list when I booked it, okay, just for this video. So I'm going to check the PNR status of the PNR with the sites that we already have, okay, those sites which gives you the PNR status, and then I'm going to execute our UI with that PNR and see how it is looking, okay, and whether it's giving the correct result or not, okay. So let's go to the UI. Let's expand this page, okay. So now let's open some website, something like confirm ticket. So I think this gives us the PNR status, okay. So let me enter my PNR number. Okay, so the PNR number is 26182800086. Let me copy this so that I can check this in my UI as well. So let's check the PNR status. So it is showing me the serial number 1 waiting list. This is the current status. This is the booking status, coach position. Okay, so basically this is the status it is giving. Let's try this in my UI. Okay. So if you see, this is returning me the data. So coach is not returning because the ticket is not confirmed. Okay. So birth is 6, which is like waiting list 6, and the percentage prediction is 59. That is the prediction of you can see the confirmation.